Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brannan, and this week I'm joined by Redcar Bears co-promoter Jitendra Duffill to look at the first action of the playoffs as Peterborough Panthers edged out Wolves at Monmore Green despite being down to 5 men.
They're going to take a 2-point advantage to home territory next Monday. What a night for Chris Harris. He's at it again. Yeah. What a season that man's having.
It's only half-time in the tie, of course, and we'll get the thoughts of Peter Adams, Rob Lyon and Rory Schlein. On Thursday, the second Premiership Semi takes place, and all eyes are on Owlerton. A Sheffield hitting form just at the right time. They take on Belle Vue Aces. We'll speak with recent Sheffield maximum man Jack Holder, and Nigel Pearson chats with Simon Stead, not just about Speedway, but also about hair.
I've got a little bit less hair now, though, haven't I?
I'm not sure, actually, on that picture.
What, are you saying I've had a transplant?
Not saying anything.
It's all normal, it's not a syrup.
And the Championship playoffs begin this week too. Jitendra's thoughts on the task ahead for the Bears in the quarterfinals. And we hear from one of his riders, Lewis Kerr. Poole and Glasgow are straight through to the semis. Find out why Broc Nichol believes the Tigers are ready to pounce. Plus, Lawrence Rogers on what could be a final meeting this week at Perry Bar. It's all on the way on No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So all that to come. First of all, let's welcome our guest this week, Jitendra Duffill, co-promoter of Redcar Bears, who find themselves in the playoffs, of course, in the Championship, and their playoff mission gets underway on Friday against Edinburgh at Armadale. But Jitendra, as far as things go for Redcar, I mean, I think you look back on how the season has gone as a whole, you must be pretty pleased with how the season's gone for Redcar.
Yeah, it has been successful. 2019 was a great year. That was my first time in charge, and we won the Knockout Cup. It would have been nice to win the league, but we just lost out in the semi-finals. So it would be nice to go one better. I know what you're saying, that it's we'll have had a good season no matter what happens from here. But I'll be honest, I'll be absolutely devastated if we go out this week. It's all the work you put in all season. This is huge because everything you've worked for all year can really come to an abrupt halt very quickly. So, but that's the same for every promotion. So, there's a lot riding on this, and it's going to be an exciting time. The next few weeks in British Speedway.
We'll focus on Redcar specifically in a little bit, but overall, looking at the Championship League, it has been a very close league this season, and we've obviously only just had in the last matches this last weekend everything confirmed as far as the playoffs, because Birmingham still had that chance of making it in on the very, very last day before the playoff cut-off, of course, in the Championship. But with the 6 teams that have made it through, are those the 6 that you probably have fancied for a while that probably would have made it?
I think earlier on there was 5 teams I would have said I'd have been surprised if they hadn't made the playoffs, and that's the top 5 as it stands. After that, Scunthorpe had a really, really good start to the season. I think they had more fixtures under the belt than most, which skewed the table a little bit. So they were sitting right up at the top for quite a while, but they didn't really pick up many points on the road, which is always going to be a bit of a problem come the end of the season if you're looking for the playoffs. But they've I think maybe been the dark horses so far this year, because everybody wrote them off at the start of the season. They lost Jake Allen early on. Obviously, that was beneficial for us in the end, but they've performed really well. Really good reserve in Jordan Palin. They've had riders who have stepped it up. For example, Simon Lambert going really, really well. He was flying at our place earlier in the year. And deserved the place there. But yeah, it went right to the wire, didn't it? Birmingham had a bit of a shout there right up until that last meeting at Glasgow. So it's been very, very close so far. You know, I think earlier on, one point in the season, I think there was 4 or 5 of us all tied on the same points at the top of the table, which I can't recall that ever happening before. But it shows how evenly matched a lot of these teams are coming into the business end now. So it's going to make for an exciting competition.
And overall, the championship's been really, really competitive, as we mentioned, but some great riders in the league now, and some riders that have never ridden some of the tracks in the Championship League. People like Bjarne Pedersen heading to the Media Prima Arena in your case for the first time. Same for Hans Andersen. He's never been to Redcar before, but he has now. And great for fans to see these riders, also Scott Nichols, Troy Batchelor, on some tracks that they've never been to before.
It's good for our league. The Championship's a great product. I've heard over the last few years that we keep weakening the product at this level, but I don't think we have weak teams at all. In fact, there's not a great deal of difference between us and the Premiership, really. So, another rider, Bjarne Pedersen, Jason Crump had visited Redcar once before, but really big names in the sport, and it's a big attraction for fans. We've had really good crowd numbers this year, and it takes quality opposition to draw those numbers. So. Yeah, it's a positive in my eyes.
Well, much more about the Championship in general, but also Redcar, of course, with Jitendra through the course of this episode this week of No Breaks, No Fear. And one of his riders doubling up in the playoff semi-final in the Premiership, Michael Palmtoft, made the headlines for the wrong reasons because, unfortunately, he suffered injuries to his fingers in a Heat 3 fall, which left Peterborough with only 5 men. But still, they recorded a 46-44 victory at Wolverhampton in the first leg of their Premiership playoff semi-final. Unfortunately, Palmtoft was only able to take one ride after suffering injuries to his fingers in that fall, reducing the Panthers to a 5-man side. Chris Harris, Scott Nichols and Hans Andersen all taking 7 rides. Harris getting 17 points and Scott Nichols with 12 plus 2, Andersen with 11 plus 2. And all-important 4-2 from Harris and Nichols in the final race means they've taken advantage into their home leg next Monday. Now, on the way, we're going to hear from Peter Adams. We'll get his thoughts along with that of Rob Lyon. First of all, let's hear from Rory Schlein, who had a terrific evening, won 3 races for the Wolves, but touched the tapes in Heat 15 with the host left to rue a pre-meeting downpour, followed by a flying start for the Panthers.
Rory Schlein trying everything he knows. Can he make it this time? Yes, he can. He could win the race here. He's going to charge at the inside. He's gone from 3rd to 1st in one fantastic swoop. What a ride from Rory Schlein. That's how to do it. That's how to show your teammates. I'm skipper of the side, and that is how it's done.
Well, Rory Schlein, never ideal to lose the home leg of any 2-legged affair, but nevertheless far from over yet.
No, said on Eurosport, as simply as we can put it, is got to go there and do what they did to us. They're a good outfit. I think the injury rider replacement worked in their favour, and no excuses. At the end of the day, they got the points on the board and we didn't, and we just got to make it happen on Monday. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We go there, we win, we're through. So that's as simple as that.
Yeah, and obviously Wolves haven't had the best of records, but I know in the first one you were out injured. The second one, a few of the boys had off nights as well, so haven't fully delivered what you're capable of at the East of England Arena in 2021 so far.
No, I think it was with 3 heats to go the last time we were there. We were level, I think. So we know it's doable. It's not like, doom and gloom. We had a chat afterwards. If anything, the pressure's off us. It's on Peterborough, because everyone will be expecting them to win. Obviously the stats say they should win, but this is playoff Speedway, mate. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and if there is one thing this Wolverhampton team have had all season long, it's fire and determination, and that will certainly be the case next Monday now.
Oh, for sure. To be fair, I ain't seen the lads this fired up in the change rooms. I know say you got to be fired up, but I mean more angry than anything. They just want Monday tomorrow, so because they want to put it right. So, just bring on Monday, mate.
The narrowest of defeats, of course, and only half-time in the tie. Let's get the thoughts of the Wolves team boss right now. Peter Adams is speaking with Mike Taylor from BBC WM.
Peter, that was obviously quite a difficult night all the way through, with one thing and another. I mean, just one of those things?
I think so, but I mean, there's no arguing what a good side they are.
Oh, sure.
and they seem to have high quality in every race. So it's very difficult to know, where you can attack a team like that. But no, they're at the top of their game and they're riding well. But next Monday's another day.
It is, and obviously they did lose our own meeting as well last week and 1 or 2 through the season. Did that shower of rain make a difference? That seemed to be quite unfortunate, because I'm sure you would have had the track set up however you wanted it set up.
Absolutely, and I don't want to make excuses, but I mean a wet track, as everybody in this game knows, always favours the away side.
Sure.
Because, as you say, the track isn't as we expected it to be, and our track staff have done marvellously to prepare it the way we wanted it. And then the rain comes along at just the wrong time, and puts us on the back foot. And I think principally that's why we got off to a bad start. But I think, we did very well to battle back to get level with them. And then we were in a position near the end where we could have, taken some advantage to Peterborough, which would have been nice. But it's not the be-all and end-all. As you say, they've recently lost at home, and hopefully they'll lose again next Monday.
And we saw 1 or 2 inspiring moments. I mean, Rory had a particularly memorable win, I think, in Heat 4. Broc Nichol showed some good form today, has run up a good number of points. So there are things to take from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Leon Flint was struggling here tonight with one thing and another, but I mean, he was very instrumental in our good performance there recently, and I expect him, to be a thorn in their side next Monday.
Yeah, still a long way to go, as we say, and many twists and turns yet. For Peterborough, of course, they're suffering a little bit now with injuries. Ulrich Ostergaard we well know about, but Michael Palm-Toft falling in Heat 3 and suffering some injuries, which he tried to race on with, but couldn't quite manage that second ride and withdrew from the rest of the meeting. Now, that will be a concern to Jitendra. We'll get his thoughts on the importance of Michael Palm-Toft to the Redcar team in a second. First of all, let's hear from the boss of Peterborough Panthers. Here's Rob Lyon speaking to Dave Rowe.
Rob, that must have been a really tough night to work your way through, but you have worked your way through it with a 2-point lead. Still happy with that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it was backs to the wall with Tofty unfortunately crashing out, and a couple of refereeing decisions went against us tonight, I felt, as well. But boys were superb again, and like I say, a proper backs to the wall performance.
First of all, the news on Tofty. Obviously tried one more ride with a finger injury. Do you think it's any serious damage, or hopefully back next week?
Hopefully not. No, we're all hopeful it'll just needs a week off, I think, and then he'll go again hopefully next Monday. But we'll obviously monitor that as the days go by. But we're hopeful, put it that way.
And then you're having to juggle RR and IRR, which is absolutely a nightmare scenario, and having a reserve to get 7 rides in hand. Lots of work to do there.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, but it's the way it is. We know that RR is our best option. We also know RR is also a risk for us if should a situation happen like it did tonight in Ryder's first ride, and it was Tofty tonight. And yeah, it's a juggle, but luckily all the boys pulled together, so that was great.
Yeah, some big rides from towards the end, particularly with Chris Harris and Scott rolling back the years, and also Bjarne, who doesn't actually like this place very much, early in the meeting, so they all got stuck in.
They did. They again, proud of them all. They all took it to Wolves, and to get a result with that sort of scenario faced with us, it was tremendous. So yeah, but it's only halfway, and Wolves are more than capable of coming to our place and getting a result. So we just got to focus on winning the meeting, and we were through.
You touched on a couple of decisions. Obviously, Nick Morris came to grief in Heat 3, the first running of that, and then Heat 14, Hans came down on the second bend. Did you feel a bit inconsistent there?
Yeah, definitely, because unfortunately, Craig saw it that the conditions were tricky early on, and he got clamped by, I think it was Scott on the outside, and he said, well, Scott's entitled to do that, really. And you could clearly see that, I can't remember who it was, but he actually fell on his own, and I all fall back. Okay, he's made that decision. Hans lost his leg. He had his leg took away off the rider off gate 3 in our race. So, what's he supposed to do? And it's frustrating, but that's the way it is. And referees have a decision to make, and he's made what he thought was the right call.
So you have a 2-point lead, which I'm sure you'd have taken before you came here tonight. Big job still to do though next Monday at the showground.
Yeah, big time. I mean, like I say, it's halfway, and all 4 teams are strong enough to win this, as we've always said. Everyone's said that. And so, yeah, we go into a home leg focus on winning the meeting, which takes us through, obviously, but it'll be tough because Wolves are a good outfit.
Yeah, the return leg is at the East of England Showground on Monday next week, and of course that will be live on TV as well, as will the fixture we're going to talk about in a few moments between Sheffield and Belle Vue. Just a note about Michael Palm-Toft then, hearing about those injuries to his fingers. Rob Lyon mentioning in that he thinks that Michael Palm-Toft's going to have a week off and then come back for the Monday meeting. That will be of concern to you, Jitendra, because Michael Palm-Toft, a key part of the Redcar Bears team, and he's due to be riding twice this weekend, on Friday and on Sunday. And hearing that, I guess there's a little bit of hope that he might be all right for you. But what are your thoughts on potentially having to do without Michael Palm-Toft?
If there's one rider that we really can't afford to lose, not that you could anybody, it's Tofty, because he's fourth in our averages now, which means that we can't use a guest and we're using RR. That weakens us massively. So if we've lost Tofty, that's just made things very difficult for us moving forwards. Hopefully it's a precaution and nothing too serious.
Yeah, let's hope for the best for this weekend. Tell us about Michael Palm-Toft, though, because he's a rider who's performed solidly all season. Perhaps doesn't maybe get the accolade and the adoration that maybe he deserves, because he's a solid, consistent rider, and he's obviously been doing it with the Peterborough team, who are no slouches. He's one of the best riders in the Premiership League at the moment, as per the averages, and he's been doing great in the Championship with Redcar as well. You've just described him as the rider that you can't do without. Tell us about the qualities of Michael Palm-Toft and what he's like to work with.
Tofty's been with us, for a couple of years now. Really, really easy to work with. That might seem a strange thing to say, but some riders are a little more high maintenance than others. He just gets on with the job very, very fast on his day. I've heard he's an underrated rider, and I would probably say that's an accurate description, because he's capable of beating anybody. I think he's going to number one for Peterborough for the playoffs as well, so that's a big testament to just how well he's riding. And he's he's at that age now where he's got the experience, but I wouldn't really class him as an old hand. So a nice mix of, I guess, bravery, experience, the kind of right side of his career, I would say.
We're going to hear from another Redcar rider right now, but with his Premiership hat on, in Lewis Kerr, because Sheffield warmed up for the Premiership playoffs with a 61-29 thrashing of Kings Lynn at Owlerton on Sunday. The Tigers had three unbeaten riders in stand-in skipper Jack Holder, Josh Pickering and Troy Batchelor. We'll hear from Holder in a moment. First of all, let's hear from Lewis Kerr, who is racing for Kings Lynn. He says that the Stars simply weren't good enough.
Louis, the last league meeting of the season didn't end well for you. It was a tough old night out there. Tell us your thoughts on it.
On a team's perspective, it's quite embarrassing, really. We should be doing better than that. I personally had bike trouble in the first three, and then I've wasted 3 heats by then, and simply not good enough, mate.
So you're disappointed personally, but overall the season, it's been a tough one from start to finish for Kings Lynn, but you did show some decent signs midway through the season. Yeah,
the team we've ended with is it's been better, and it's been a very tough year for Kings Lynn. Hoping next year, things will be better for the fans and the promotion.
Yeah, I think in Speedway it goes round in circles. One bad season, hopefully followed by a decent one.
Yeah, exactly, mate. The fans deserve a decent side and to be fighting for the playoffs next year. So hopefully we can do that.
And on a personal level, you've still got playoffs in the Championship with Redcar. Tell us your thoughts on that. Is it Edinburgh?
Yeah, Edinburgh away on Friday. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Other than tonight, I'm in good form. So keep it going and hopefully get through to the next round.
Just put this one down as a bad night at the office?
Yeah, bad night, mate. Move on.
That was a close shave, that one race. You kissed the fence, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. Charles Wright told me to go wide, so I went wide, a bit too wide.
Don't listen to Charles Wright again.
No, not at all.
Cheers, Louis. Thanks, man.
Yeah, the Redcar Massive sticking close there in that fixture too, with Charles Wright advising Lewis Kerr on how to ride Owlerton. But it'll be Charles's own turn come Thursday when it's that second semi-final playoff between Sheffield and Belle Vue, which of course will be live on Eurosport on Thursday evening. Don't forget about that. But a big win for Sheffield, 61-29, and yes, there's not a lot to play for in terms of league position, but psychologically, what does that win do for both Sheffield and for the other clubs as well, who'll be watching on and seeing, there's not a lot to ride for. Kings Lynn haven't had the best season, but they've still got some decent riders among them there. And, a good way to go into the playoffs for Sheffield, surely that with a big win.
It is, and I think it sends out a message to other teams as well. Sheffield are one of those teams at the beginning of the year, I looked on paper and I think, that's a team that can go all the way, but they haven't performed like that. But they're coming into a really good run of form just at the right time. They made a really astute signing in Josh Pickering. To this day, I have no idea why no other Premiership team have signed them to date, because there must be promoters now kicking themselves at that. But the addition of him, Daniel Humes doing really well at reserve for them. They were missing a good reserve earlier in the year. And of course, Troy Batchelor seems to be coming into some good form as well. So, I would personally say that probably my favourites now coming into the playoffs. But having said that, Belle Vue are another team, really, really good on paper. Superb number one, balanced throughout, good reserve. I think they suffer from a similar issue that we do at Redcar, and that's that, everybody loves riding their track. It holds no fear for the opposition, and that makes it incredibly hard to get an advantage at home. So over the two legs, that does disadvantage them a little bit. But having said that, they've been to Peterborough and won there this year. Looking at the Premiership at the moment, you've got three tracks which are all big, fast tracks. You're not too dissimilar, really, in the way that you've got to ride them. Only Wolverhampton, to me, seem to have a significant home advantage of those three. But I believe Sheffield have prepared the track fairly grippy this year, which that's one way of getting an advantage. If you've got the riders who are able to ride that, it takes some brave riders to stick your back wheel in the dirt at Sheffield, and all Speedway riders are brave, but if you get a group that little bit braver than the rest, you can eke that little bit of advantage there. So I think Sheffield for me are the team over two legs, but again, you can't discount anybody there.
Well, the star man on Sunday against Kings Lynn was Jack Holder, who got a maximum 15 points. And he's been speaking after that meeting with Nigel Pearson.
Jack Holder, congratulations, a full house and a great way for you guys to warm up for Thursday against Belle Vue. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, of course. Everyone was on it tonight. Even without Howarth, we're still quite strong. So, the track was good tonight. Can't complain, 15 out of 15. Not just myself, but, Pico as well. And, Batch looked good tonight. Everyone did their job.
And captain as well for the first time, and a winning start as a captain.
Beautiful, Captain Jack.
Brilliant. But everything seemed good. There was one or two moments there with Ben where got a little bit tasty with the old elbows and a bit of cunning. You had to work hard in a couple of races, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. He's a tough customer. He doesn't know when to shut off sometimes, but done him 3 times out of 3, so can't complain.
Well, you did everybody tonight. Magnificent crowd right behind you again as well. So all attention's now looking to Thursday night. You've got no more meetings before then. It's just, a bit of rest and preparation now?
Too much rest.
You'd ride tomorrow if you could, right?
100%. It's like come to like the crunch now, but don't have any meetings anywhere because I'm finished abroad and all that kind of stuff. So it's not ideal, but we're used to it. Come back Thursday and hopefully another 15 points.
Belle Vue are going to be tough, really good side. Dan Bewley's had some real ding-dongs with you. He's a great little rider and good solid all-round team.
Yeah, for sure. They've got, Bewley, BK, Righty. He was in the pits tonight, actually, so he might tell them some inside info on what's going on. But, they've got a good team. That's why they're in the playoffs. And, if we just put another performance in like tonight, no doubt we should beat them.
There's Jack Holder, got a maximum on Sunday, but he's got to wait all the way until Thursday to race his next meeting, which is quite a long time in Speedway because he's not jetting off back to Poland or riding anywhere else. He's just got to focus on that next fixture against Belle Vue. Jitendra, with your knowledge of Speedway riders, this is sort of a weird part of the season, really, isn't it, where things suddenly start slowing down. It's hell for leather at the middle of the season. There's meetings here, there and everywhere, sometimes different countries, and you've got a very, very full schedule to then get to this point of the season and you're twiddling your thumbs a bit.
I know that riders like to be busy. Obviously, that can be taken to the extremes, especially when you're flying in and out of the UK, but I know from my experience as a promoter and a team manager that riders don't like sitting around and doing one meeting every week. So yeah, I'm sure Jack would be prefer to be a lot busier, but he's a world-class rider now. He shouldn't really be a rider who is going to struggle too much, even if he does, only ride once a week. So when you compare them in Belle Vue, they've both got world-class riders at number one. So yeah, they'll both play very key parts coming into this, this playoff part of the season.
Well, after that fixture, I want you to picture the scene. You're in the bar at Owlerton Stadium. The smell of the carvery is majestically wafting through as Nigel Pearson stands at the bar with a pint of Guinness in his hand. I know, you're shocked, I'm shocked, we're all shocked. And he's chatting with Simon Stead.
Simon, looking ahead to Thursday night, boosted by a win against Kings Lynn, you can only beat what's in front of you. With the greatest respect to Kings Lynn on Sunday, they were weakened with no Richard Lawson and they weren't at their best. But you did what you had to do on Sunday night, didn't you?
Yeah, and I felt before the start of the meeting that we were probably weaker in that respect than them, having to run RR for Kyle and the way that the averages are. So you're right, you can only beat what's in front of you. Regardless of the scoreline, there was some good racing. They have some riders that ride Sheffield very well. So we had to get together before the start of the meeting. I think it was important not to take our foot off the gas, and we sat down and had a talk about that. We wanted to build momentum off the back of a fantastic result at Peterborough. So tonight could have been something silly had we thrown it away. So we've kept the momentum going. Team full of confidence. Looking forward to Thursday. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And the fact that you had three riders unbeaten, particularly, I've got to single out Troy Batchelor, who, to be honest with you, has had, well, you know as well as anybody, has had a torrid time around this track. Now, it seems to me that he hasn't settled on this track this year. Two questions. How delighted are you for him to go through the card unbeaten? And point number two, has he said anything to you about being not confident around the Sheffield track at all? What can you tell us? Well, firstly, I'm obviously delighted for him. I know he's been putting a lot of hard work in behind the scenes. He's equally unhappy with how this season has gone at Sheffield. As with most of Speedway riders, we race a lot on confidence, and he's been low on that, and he's found it difficult. He's not been particularly comfortable with the engines he's been riding. I know that he has got some different equipment, whether that's from Poland or wherever he's brought it over from, but he's feeling much more comfortable on it. I guess it is a difficult track to go fast on, with the different lines you have to ride. It's a unique place, and yes, it's fair to say that he's found things tough, but we've always known that he's capable of that kind of performance, and I think that's where the root of the disappointments come from, because we all know how good he is and how he can ride on his day. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come for the playoffs. He's had some more confidence installed. Yes, I believe that riding more meetings, having the benefit of riding for Kent has helped him find his form. It doesn't seem too long ago that we were talking about him scoring a 0 here. So that sort of turnaround is unbelievable, and credit to the lad himself, because he's been working hard at it.
Fair play, good answer. Now my next question has got to be about Thursday night. Belle Vue Aces, War of the Roses. It's your biggest meeting here at Sheffield for years. The first playoff that this club has had in top flight history. It's a big night, isn't it?
It's huge. I think the opposition couldn't be better for the semi-final. I think the way that it's panned out, the way that the season's progressed, it's really up in the air and can go anywhere. You know, as a neutral and as a fan looking at it, the playoffs this season are as exciting as I think I've ever seen. So a fantastic proposition in store. 4 teams in the playoffs that could all do it and could all win at each other's track. So that's just a great position to be in, not so much as a team manager, but certainly as a fan and as a neutral looking at the prospect of the playoffs this year. But I'm confident as the Sheffield team manager, the way that my team are going, the camaraderie within the camp, the team spirit's absolutely fantastic. We've got a great bunch of lads who are all hitting form and all riding for each other. So we don't fear anybody, but in the same breath, we will give everybody the respect that they deserve, because they're in the playoffs for a reason, and we'll have to be at our best to go all the way.
What do you need on Thursday night? You've got to have some sort of lead, surely, haven't you? That's a reasonable question.
Well, another 61-29 would be pretty good.
Well, that's a good answer, but realistically speaking, Simon, it's a tough ask because Belle Vue are a great side. They are a fantastic side, and we've already had some titanic battles with them already this season. So a couple of great meetings in prospect, but realistically, if I could get 8, I'd be more than happy. But it's one meeting. It won't be won in one meeting. It will be run over the course of both, and then once we've hopefully got through the semi-final, we can concentrate on the final. But we'll go out on Thursday, do our best. Any sort of lead will be a good one. Equally, if we have to start from scratch on the following Thursday at their place, then we'll do that as well. Just looking down the four clubs: Peterborough, Sheffield, Wolverhampton, Belle Vue. Simon Stead rode for all those clubs.
Yeah. Simon Stead did ride for it and enjoyed riding for every single one of them. Actually, nice. There was I've got fond memories from all 4 clubs. But you know, I'm Sheffield team manager, so regardless of anything else that's happened in the past, my focus is solely with Sheffield Speedway and doing my very best for them and making sure we get the best out of the boys.
Good answers. You're good at this, aren't you?
All right. Shall we mention the programme and the picture in it tonight?
No. Oh, what, the fact that I look younger now?
Yeah, you do.
Well, what an honour, Simon. It's very nice of you. I've got a little bit less hair now, though, haven't I?
I'm not sure, actually, on that picture.
What, are you saying I've had a transplant?
Not saying anything.
It's all normal, it's not a syrup. Anyway, thanks for your time, Simon.
Welcome,
and maybe I should wear a Choose7.com cap like you.
Thanks.
Yeah, one of the more surreal moments of No Breaks, No Fear this year, the discussion about Nigel Pearson's hair. But we're getting to that stage of the season, I guess. Jitendra, for Simon Stead, he's got a very busy time on his hands because we're talking about the back end of the season and people becoming less busy, but not for Simon because he's got these playoffs to get through. And then straight after that, into October, Speedway of Nations. Of course, he's the Great Britain team manager as well. So he's going to be getting to know the National Speedway Stadium pretty well, isn't he, over the next few weeks?
He is, yeah. Simon's been around for a long time now. I know he's only young still, but he's been there and done that, hasn't he, really, at all levels now. So, I'm sure he'll enjoy being busy as well. And he'll have a lot of confidence in his team as well, which I know he has. He's won a title with Sheffield before. I don't think it's unfeasible for him to take another one this year.
So those fixtures then for this week. Thursday, Premiership Playoff Semi-Final. It's Sheffield versus Belle Vue, Owlerton Stadium at 7:30. And then the return leg, Peterborough versus Wolverhampton on Monday night next week, again at 7:30. Both matches will be live on Eurosport. Coming next on No Breaks, No Fear, turning our attention to the Championship, talking more to Jitendra about the quest for glory at the Redcar Bears, as we've been hearing that their task may or may not be a little bit more difficult, depending on the fitness of Michael Palm-Toft. We'll also hear from Birmingham team boss Lawrence Rodgers ahead of their knockout cup match against Edinburgh. Owner David Mason's going to walk away from Birmingham at the end of this season, and this match against Edinburgh could well be their last one at Perry Bar, certainly of this promotion, and possibly ever, which we sincerely hope won't be the case. But we'll hear from Lawrence Rodgers soon, here on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brannan, great to be back with you once again, and joining me in this episode, I'm pleased to say, is Jitendra Duffill, co-promoter at the Redcar Bears. Redcar find themselves in the playoff quarter-finals in the Championship, having kept that second spot. Of course, the top two in the Championship go through to the semi-finals, but Redcar were in that second position, but we always knew that with Glasgow having matches in hand, and two of those matches were at home as well, and they got that second spot. So it's Poole and Glasgow in the automatic spots to the semis, and it means that Redcar, finishing fourth, will meet the Edinburgh Monarchs first at Armadale on Friday, with the return leg at home at the Media Prima Arena next Sunday. Tell us about that fixture then. You've got Edinburgh, tricky place to go, Armadale, but having them back on your home turf in the second leg.
Edinburgh's a tough place to go. It holds a good home track advantage. It's small, tight, technical. As far as our opposition goes, I don't really think we were too bothered who we raced against. My attitude is that if you're going to go all the way and win the final, then you should be able to beat anybody over two legs. And, if you can't do that, then, it really doesn't matter which stage you go out at. But, we were aiming for top two, but at the same time, that does have its cons as well as its pros. Yes, you're guaranteed to be in the semi, but we didn't really want to go too long without racing. We had the Julie Lewis Memorial at home last week. Because we're now in the quarterfinal and not the semi, that means that we're going to be racing this week. I think had we missed 2 weeks, as some clubs may, you're going to come into this part of the season pretty cold. So on that front, we weren't too disappointed. Like I said, there was pros and cons for and against both. If we'd have finished third, we'd have raced Scunthorpe. And again, another club who have been really strong at home. We performed well there earlier this year, but they've got a really good reserve who can step up if somebody in the top five isn't quite performing. So, but both teams are dangerous. We'll take who we've got, and we'll do our best to make sure we get through to the semi-final.
I have to say that the Redcar track is always magnificently prepared, and as you mentioned, with the National Speedway Stadium, which is another great racetrack, of course, but I think Redcar is not far behind in terms of the quality of racing that I've seen there through the course of this season, and people should definitely get along there if they can, because you will not be disappointed. The racing is always top notch. It can be a leveller, though, for the teams, because we're talking about Edinburgh having a bit of a home track advantage. Everybody knows Armadale is a very tricky circuit, and it is a trump card. We spoke to Sam Masters earlier this season, and they know that they've got this trump card of having this circuit. Conversely, Redcar don't have that. Everybody loves coming to Redcar and having a race, and you get great racing, of course, but you haven't got the home track advantage quite so much.
We love the fact we've got a great racetrack. It's a big pull for riders. Riders tend to approach us to come and race at Redcar. And obviously we get good racing, which is great for the support as well. On a team front, not so good, because, like we were talking about Belle Vue earlier, it holds no fear for opposition riders. They really look forward to coming racing at Redcar, and it makes it really hard to get home advantage. I think that showed in our results. Just an estimation, we've probably got as many, if not as many points away from home as we have at home this season. We've a couple of draws. We did lose a match to Eastbourne as well. We obviously that was annulled in the end, so it didn't really harm us. But we haven't really stamped our authority around our home track. This is the time to step up and really do that. We've had to come from behind. I think it's 3 matches in a row, something like that, from 8 to 12 points down, and it's a reason why it's important that we have riders that do travel well. Because we're going to have to perform well away from home if we're not going to be able to stretch any sort of huge lead at home. So we took the second leg. I think it's always important to do that in front of your home fans. You've got the crowd on your side, and we know what we need to do. But it certainly doesn't play to our advantage having such a fair track.
Now, if people can't make it, of course, they can watch on the streams this particular fixture. In fact, both of the fixtures between yourself and Edinburgh, because Edinburgh have got their streaming running on EMTV, and you have recently launched Bears TV, where I've been doing some commentary as well, which has been great to be involved in, and a couple of great matches so far, and I think Edinburgh is going to be no different. But this is the result of a lot of work through the course of the season. It's not something you've just started doing. You've built your own system to do the streaming from the ground up, and you waited until it was right before properly launching it, of course, to the world. Tell us about getting streaming up and running, because people are saying, well, why can't you just do a live stream, put a camera there, connect it to the internet, and away you go? But it's not quite as straightforward as that, is it? This is something we were planning since before the season. A few clubs, experimented and started this last year, towards the end of the year when we couldn't have crowds. So it brings in a new stream of revenue for us, which is important at the moment, because we don't always get the crowd numbers we need to thrive. And on top of that, I would say people tend to travel less nowadays than they might have 15, 20 years ago. I know I've spoken to promoters who were promoting back in that time and said, at one time you'd have 200-300 of the away fans come, but those days seem to have gone. So this is a way to try and capture some of that audience that maybe we've lost along the way. We had, I think it was about 130 people watch the stream a couple of weeks ago, which it doesn't seem a massive amount, but that really does help financially, and it's nice for those people who can't travel to be able to watch these meetings, because they're big meetings, exciting part of the season, and it just opens up to a much wider audience. It's not come without its tests. It's not quite as easy as pointing the camera, plugging into the internet and away you go. It's been very, very challenging. We've got a good team that work with us. Our lead on that, Martin Hunter, who obviously you've worked with, a couple of great commentators, yourself and James Black, and yes.
It's coming together. So hopefully people like what they've seen.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's presented really smartly. It does look good, and I think you've done a great job with it. And I've done what I can with the with the commentary. I've only ever done 2 commentaries in my life before, and the third will hopefully be against Edinburgh at the weekend. It has been a learning curve for me. Blimey, stuff happens so quick, and full respect to the people who have done this in their careers, on national TV, like Nigel and Kelvin and Dave Rowe, and of course the great Dave Lanning in years gone by, who make it look so easy. And I think that's the thing. They make it look and sound so easy that people think it's easy, but when you actually have a go at it, blimey, I mean, Speedway is ridiculously quick. There's that much going on. You've just got these words coming out of your mouth and hoping that you've got it right. And say it with confidence, but it's been great fun. It's been great fun.
Yeah, well, I thought you did a great job, and the feedback's been good. So it's I guess until you actually jump in and do something like this, you could never really understand just how hard it is, but you've obviously experienced that now, and yeah, I've full admiration for people like Belle and Nigel and Dave Rowe, who very good at what they do.
Yeah, it's full on stuff, but very enjoyable. So those matches then for Redcar. Friday at Armadale against Edinburgh is the first leg. The second leg on Sunday evening, 6:30 start at the Media Prima Arena at South Tees Motor Park. Come down and be there in person. Of course, if you can't, you can watch it on Bears TV or EMTV for the home leg at Armadale on the Friday and Bears TV on the Sunday. It'd be great to have you join us. Now, the other fixture is going to be that one between Scunthorpe and Leicester. Now, recently, Redcar raced against Leicester at home in that Crunch League meeting and came down to the final heat and ended in a draw. Scunthorpe, we know how strong they are because they started the season very strongly, then dropped away a little bit. Just made it into the playoffs, but still they've got a lot of strength in that team, and not least a British champion as well.
They destroyed Poole at home very recently, which not many teams have managed this season. So, that should be a bit of a warning to Leicester. I know Stuart Dixon certainly won't be underestimated, and then when he goes there, because they are strong at home, and in the playoffs, it's not really about winning one meeting. It's about winning by enough of a margin, and if you do that, then you only have to put in a reasonable performance away from home. Leicester's a tough place to go. Again, it's one of those tracks which is quite tricky, probably holds a few fears for other riders. So I do feel that Scunthorpe, we're going to have to beat them at home by quite a margin in order to go through to the next round. They will start as underdogs. Leicester are a very, very strong top team. They've got a very strong top four. But the lower end is very capable as well. Zane Kennedy is going well. And the Thompson twins have had a great debut season. So they're going to start favourites. Definitely a team to be feared. But Scunthorpe, we've got nothing to lose. They've proved that they can beat teams by a good margin. So there's certainly not cut and dry.
And a slight difference in the Championship to the Premiership of how the playoffs work. We've got the top two seeded through to the semi-finals. How does it work from here when we get the two winners from the quarter-finals? Is there a choice of opponent for those two, or is it just Poole that get the choice? How does it all work?
So Poole finished top of the league, so they'll get their choice of which of the quarter-finalist teams that progress they'll face. And then Leicester will get whoever remains after that. So it's really up to Poole how that second part of the competition is going to look. The semi-finals will be shaped by whoever they fancy racing against at that point, I guess.
Well, one of the riders who's already got their eye on a semi-final place in the Championship playoffs, as well, of course, as involved in the semi-finals in the Premiership playoffs, is Broc Nichol, who doubles up with Wolves and Glasgow in the Championship. He's been speaking about the playoffs with Ryan Guest.
Well, yes, Friday against Birmingham and Sunday against Leicester proved to be two tough meetings in the end, but nevertheless, the Tigers doing enough to get that second place and move right through to the semi-finals.
Yeah, it's what we needed. We had a busy weekend with two meetings and two good performances by the team. We all come together and it's at the right time. So, we're all happy and to get a win over Leicester, that means a lot for the club. And at the right time, that put us in the right place in second place, so we don't have to go through the quarterfinals. So, we're happy. Everybody's going well, and we'll just have to see how playoffs goes. Yeah,
it has been quite an impressive turnaround over the last few weeks as well, because obviously Ulrich Ostergaard was flying earlier in the season, and when his injury hit, the Tigers did suffer something of a dip, not quite as consistent and a high standard as they were at one point. So when you consider the new faces that have been brought into the side as well, things could be clicking at just the right time for the Tigers.
Yeah, you never want to lose anybody in the team, especially a guy like Ulrich. He was going so well. And once he got injured, it was things were tough for a little bit. not having that full squad. You never want that. So we've got new guys in now, and it's all clicking at the right time. Tom hasn't had his best performances, and he's capable of much more, and we all know that. So he's up for it, and once we all click, it goes well, and that showed on Sunday.
Yeah, you've seen up there as well, obviously, since the owners came in a few years ago. They've certainly shown plenty of ambition, given it lots as well. The supporters as well give it everything. And like I say, there's certainly a big ambition up in Glasgow as well to achieve things. And you'll sense the desperation up there that they've got to do it this year.
Yeah, the new owners of the club that took it over, I mean, man, they run the club so well. And they do it the correct way and professionally, and everything about the club is awesome, and I enjoy being there. It's a fun place to go, and just the vibes you get in the pits and with everybody in the team, and such a great track. So I've got nothing but good words to say about the club and everybody up there. They want to win trophies at the end of the day. That's what they want to do, but they also want us to have fun. So hopefully this is the year to do it for them.
There's Broc Nichol of Glasgow Tigers speaking to Ryan Guest. And some other big news in the North East for Speedway, in that Newcastle owner Rob Grant has pledged the club will race on in 2022 with some new backing. He was set to walk away after last Sunday's season finale, but now says the Diamonds will continue because of the reaction of supporters and the memory of co-promoter Dave Tatham, who passed away recently. He wants to honour the work that Dave put into helping Rob out and see the club through into another season. Now, for you at Redcar, and as a Redcar promoter, you have some great battles, of course, with Newcastle, and the two teams obviously offer a decent following to each other's tracks when they meet as well. There's always that extra bit of banter, I suppose, being a local derby, and it must be great to know that Newcastle's still going to be on the calendar for you next year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, great news about Newcastle. That was the first place I ever rode a bike, and I actually went up and watched there for a period of time when, Speedway ceased to operate at Cleveland Park. So, it's been a tough season for Rob Grant, to come in and buy a club during COVID. He's essentially bought that club twice, and obviously his crowds have been affected this year. No one really could have blamed him had he have walked away from that. But, I guess it shows the determination and character of the man to give it another go. And you're right, that's great news, not just for Newcastle supporters, but, British Speedway in general. Birmingham have had a really tough year as well. I know they've struggled with crowd numbers, but, it's a very impressive stadium. The track can be a great racetrack as well. And hopefully, they can find a way to survive. We don't want to lose any clubs, and I would be very, very sad to see them go, as would anybody else. Maybe a little bit of time, at the end of the season, just to think about things may change the mind. But it's been, the pressure on all of us this year has been, twice what it usually is, preparing for a season under COVID with all the uncertainty financially and with crowd numbers and all the hoops we had to jump through to make it work. It's been, I can just tell you from a promotional point of view, it's been stressful. And that's coming from a club that's done quite well. So I do have a lot of sympathy for those clubs, and I hope they can find a way to come back.
Before we move on from this part, just a word about Ryan Kinsley. Ryan Kinsley was racing for Redcar a few weeks ago. I'm sure you know the story, but if you don't, his van was stolen after the meeting with all his bikes and all his gear in it. The following morning, his van was located, but all the equipment in the van had gone. All of his bikes, all of his gear, all of his life work effectively had gone. And then there was a big appeal. Well, it wasn't really intended to be a big appeal, but the word was shared far and wide, and it became a big appeal on social media, on local media, newspapers, radio, to find Ryan Kinsley's equipment, and he got his bikes back, which is fantastic. And now he's back in business and he's racing again, and all's well that ends well. But quite an experience for you to go through there as a promoter, trying to locate his equipment.
That's right. It was, as you mentioned, it was the first time that Ryan had actually stayed in Middlesbrough. the situation was, if I'm really honest, a little embarrassing for me. To bring the lad here for the first time and for his whole livelihood to be taken from underneath his nose. It wasn't good, but let's be realistic here. It's one or two scumbags who have gone out and done that. And I guess we get those people in all areas, but you're right. What really did shine through was, the goodwill, the support of not just the people in the northeast and the local area, but the whole of the Speedway community pulled together. We raised over £3,500, I think, within a few days. I shared a post within probably an hour of his bikes being taken, once we knew the situation. And by the end of the next day, that had been shared over 1,400 times. And that was from my personal account. You add into the Redcar Bears social media and everybody else's. And it had reached, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in no time. And, that does make you really proud. And the sport can be an absolutely brilliant place to be, the community and... it's kind of like a family feeling. It really is quite a special place to be at times, and that's part of what I love about the sport. And fortunately we got his bikes back, and financially I don't think he was any worse off for it. So really pleased for Ryan.
And you got the bikes back based on an anonymous tip-off. It sounds like you had an experience like some sort of crime drama, like Line of Duty or something like that. Can you tell us about how you got the bikes back?
I think the less I say, the better, but we did get an anonymous tip. The recovery was all a little bit sketchy. I put myself in a situation that I probably shouldn't have, but look, all that matters is we got the bikes back, and so did Ryan, and I think we'll leave that one there.
You don't need to know. Okay. It was magic. But he's got his bikes back, so that's the main thing. Jitendra Duffill, the co-promoter of Redcar Bears, is with us on No Breaks, No Fear. Coming up in the next part, we're going to hear from Lawrence Rogers, the team boss at Birmingham Brummies. We were talking about Newcastle. They're in a similar situation. It may be their last meeting, depending on if a new promoter can be found. The existing promoters are bowing out at the end of this season, but more about that to come here on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Jitendra Duffill from the Redcar Bears is with us this week. Right now we're going to talk about the Birmingham Brummies. The owner of Birmingham, David Mason, has announced he's going to walk away from the club, knowing that he did everything in his power to make the club a success. He's based in Sussex, but alongside his father, Peter, will bring down the curtain on their time at the club at the last remaining match of the season, which could well be Wednesday night, as they're on 18 points down against Edinburgh in their knockout cup tie. The duo have revealed there are no firm offers on the table to take over the club, which means the curtain could well be set to fall on sport in Birmingham after a long and proud history. Well, let's hear from Lawrence Rogers, the team manager. He's refusing to give up hope on overhauling the 18-point deficits on Wednesday, which could mean yet another fixture at Perry Bar. He's been speaking with Ryan Guest.
Birmingham Brummies team manager Lawrence Rogers speaking ahead of Wednesday's Knockout Cup quarter-final second leg clash with Edinburgh. Obviously it's going to be a strange night as well, not knowing what the future holds for the Brummies.
It is going to be a very strange night, isn't it? Things are all up in the air at the moment. We know that David and Peter are no longer going to be there after the end of the season. We've got 18 points to pull back against Edinburgh, which we can do. We only beat them by 14 without Jack Thomas and with Valentine not scoring that day, and then he bounced back to form last week at paid 9. The aim is to beat Edinburgh and get through to meet Glasgow in the semi-final of the Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a strange one to build from a promotional point of view as well, because like you say, can't bill it as the final meeting, especially when there's still a potential to get through to the next round of the competition.
True, absolutely true. My aim and the 7 riders' aim is to get through to the next round, naturally. But I know that Dave and Peter want to make a big deal of the fact that it could be the last meeting of the season. As for the future, there are things happening.
And like you say, the second leg of the Knockout Cup is now a big focus, because obviously it was such a brave effort from the Brummies in the end, just coming up short by a single point to get in those playoffs.
Oh, that was very disappointing, looking at that league table on the Saturday morning after coming back from Glasgow. So close yet so far away, and we can look to various things that have gone wrong. We can look that we should have won at Plymouth, we could have got a point out of Poole, out of Kent. We were robbed at Edinburgh by a Heat 15 decision. We should have won by more at Newcastle. We came close at Glasgow without Paco and without Valentine. We could have pushed them harder. We should have been up there, and we should have qualified when there were 5 very dejected faces in the pits at Glasgow on Friday.
Yeah, and regardless of what does happen on Wednesday night, whether you do manage to overturn that big deficit against Edinburgh, like you say, with everything that's been thrown at the Brummies in 2021, still got to be proud of what the club and the team have achieved this year.
Oh, very much so proud of all 7 of them, and we've had we're the only team in the country not to make a change all year as well, which is a big plus for Birmingham. The 7 of them have mixed together as a great team with superb spirit, and I just feel so sorry that we haven't got to the stage we deserved.
Well, David and Peter Mason of Birmingham Brummies will be standing down. Hopefully the club will continue in 2022 in the same vein as Newcastle. Jitendra Duffill of the Redcar Bears, you are a co-promoter who's standing down at the end of this season as well. Of course, a lot of people maybe don't realise you have a full-time job outside of Speedway, and Speedway is something that you do on top of that life as well. Just how much time does it take up of your life when you're a co-promoter of a Speedway club in the middle of the season, and you've got your other job going on as well?
It takes over your life. It doesn't just take over your life, but it affects your family's life. My wife has to live Speedway with me. I only ever really took over at Redcar initially for a year. That was my plan, and it wasn't even my plan. I did it because we had nobody else to do it, which isn't really a reason to do anything. But I love the club. It's been in my blood. I'm a family's blood all of my life. My granddad went to the first meeting at Cleveland Park in I think it was probably back in the 20s or 30s, and my dad after him, and me. So it's a club like many other, I would imagine, in British Speedway, if not World Speedway, that's run off the goodwill, passion, and dedication from the people who love the club. And it's stressful. That's part of the reason that I'm walking away from it, because it's not sustainable to do this on top of my working life forever, but I would urge, we as promoters, I guess we all kind of get, stereotyped sometimes into the way that, the people see British Speedway and know that we could be in a better place, but I don't think people really realise, the sacrifices that some of us make to do what we do. Speedway is run on the goodwill and the love and passion of some people who are willing to make really big sacrifices in their own life. That's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, a tough job, and we'll talk about one of the rewards in a moment. Another fixture to mention, though, is another Wednesday fixture, Championship Knockout Cup semi-final, second leg. Poole versus Leicester, 2 sides that Redcar have faced recently, including a trip down to the South Coast last week, and that's going to be a fearsome clash between those two in that competition, isn't it?
Well, we went there last week. The track was really well prepared. They're just dialed in there. You make one mistake and their riders are ready to pounce. But you're right, there've been a really couple of big tests recently. We had Glasgow go up against Leicester just this weekend, and obviously Glasgow came out the victors there, and this is a similar situation. You're right, it absolutely could be a playoff final, and there are bragging rights for both teams, and it's a really good measure of the way that could go should it happen. So a fixture where either team can come out on top. You're right, Poole is strong at home, but Leicester have riders who are more than capable of riding there, and ex-Poole riders as well, which always helps.
We talked about the hard work that goes into running a club. You're doing it for rewards, and you got some silverware, and the Knockout Cup is a competition that you won pretty recently in 2019. A really important piece of silverware to have both on your mantelpiece in the trophy cabinet of the club and on your CV as well, isn't it? It's one of the great British Speedway competitions.
I think in 2019, I always had my sights set on the league. I think that's the big one. It is for anybody. It's something I've never won. But yeah, I can't really describe how I felt when we won that. Just a huge moment of pride. I saw what it meant to the supporters, to the riders. It's massive. It's something that both teams will be setting the sights firmly on bringing back home. And yeah, that cup, we don't like to leave too much down the track for obvious reasons, but that cup sat beside me in my office for almost 2 years because we had obviously we defaulted to us for a second year because of COVID. So no, it's a huge honour and a huge piece of silverware with a lot of history associated with it. So they'll be going all out to bring that back home.
And a couple of other things to touch on before we go. Speedway of Nations just around the corner. We've seen the end of the Polish season with Ty Woofenden and Dan Bewley team riding their way to glory for Wrocław. Do you think those will be our two for the Speedway of Nations when that comes around?
I think that's the way they'll go with it. Dan Bewley, particularly with it being his home track, it would be very difficult to leave him out. He's come on leaps and bounds, not just this year. I think towards the end of last year over in Poland, we saw what he was really capable of. And Ty Woofenden's got that experience at this level. You don't win the number of world championships he has unless you can perform under pressure and at this level. Robert Lambert is a rider that I rate very, very highly, and to leave him out would be incredibly difficult. But I think considering where it is and considering that Ty Woofenden and Dan Bewley are probably coming into it with a few more matches under the belts recently, that there would be the two I would probably opt for. As far as your under 21 rider goes, that's a difficult pick. There are a few there in contention. Obviously Tom Brennan performed very, very well recently for the junior squad at this level, but it's still a tough pick because you've got the likes of Leon Flint there and Drew Kemp. A tough choice.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Jitendra, and all the very best for next season. We know that Redcar's in good hands, and Jamie Swales and Jade Mudgeway are going to continue carrying the Redcar baton. And I can't imagine that you're going to be far away from the stadium, but have you given any thought as to what you're going to be doing next year? Are you just going to be still down the track or involved in some other way? Have you got any thoughts on what 2022 is going to hold for you?
I haven't decided yet. I mean, I keep seeing ex-promoters and team managers who keep telling me, you're going to miss it and you'll be straight back in there. And I keep telling them I'm really not. I really don't think I will. But I love the club. I'll be there without a doubt, whether it's in a voluntary role in some way or as a supporter. It's all a little bit raw for me at the moment, I think, to really make any decisions.
Can a red stripe on the first bend, maybe?
That's a really appealing option, no matter what else is on offer.
That's the Redcar dream, isn't it?
Yeah, with my drum.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, that'd be a way to enjoy it. Well, thanks very much, and all the best for the rest of the season. Of course, starting Friday and then the return on Sunday, and hopefully it will continue beyond that as well.
That's the plan.
My thanks to Jitendra Duffill, co-promoter at Redcar Bears. Not many fixtures left on the calendar as it stands, so let's run through them in full. Birmingham versus Edinburgh and Poole versus Leicester in the Knockout Cup on Wednesday night. Thursday in the Premiership, it's that first leg of the playoff between Sheffield and Belle Vue at Owlerton. And then on Friday, Scunthorpe versus Leicester and Edinburgh versus Redcar. The first legs of the quarter-finals of the Championship playoffs. And we've also got Leicester versus Scunthorpe on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it's the return leg of Redcar versus Edinburgh. And then on Monday, back to the Premiership, where it's Peterborough versus Wolves. And we'll have all the reaction to that next week on No Breaks, No Fear. Back again next Tuesday from 8 o'clock. Have a great week wherever you're heading in British Speedway, and we will see you next week for more. Don't forget, keep up to date with everything that's happening online at speedwaygb.co.uk, on our social media pages. Regular video and match updates are always posted there. And here's to a great week in Speedway. Fingers crossed for the weather. No Breaks, No Fear is a Nigel Pearson Media Limited production for British Speedway.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.